Happy Sunday evening, everybody. We got Sacramento Kings basketball tonight. The enemy the Kings know so well, the LA Lakers here in town in Sacramento. First matchup of the season. We get y'all ready for tip-off. See how the Kings are going to bounce back from a tough loss against the Warriors on Friday night. We've got it all covered for you, wall to wall. We've got Jerry Reynolds and Grant at halftime. I'm Ryno in Sacktown. This is the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
3, 2, 1, go.
Sacramento miscue. Carter, stolen by Williams. And look at this. Oh, you don't like that. You don't like NBA basketball. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. The exclamation point from De'Aaron Fox. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Boy, that's an ESPN highlight right there. Whoa. Carlson comes in. How about this? Holy moly, Jim Bob Foley. That was a major league smush.
Yes, indeed. That was a major league smush, as Jerry Reynolds likes to say. But how's everybody doing tonight? Game 3 of 82. Kings, Lakers. Going to be a fun one. Certainly one of the topics everybody wants to get to. We will address in just a moment Kevin Huerter and the playing time that Mike Brown's going to be distributing tonight, specifically with the starters. So let's start there. The Kings. Mike Brown's rolling Kevin Huerter out at the 2. So we're going to have the normal starting lineup that Mike Brown has started all year and most of last year. Look for that. We'll see what Mike Brown does with Kevin. We'll talk about that in depth here in a second. Want to get all of your comments, questions in. You guys all make the show better. So I will be looking for those and getting some of those up here in a second. As for the injury report, Trey Lyles, he is out tonight again. So how will that affect the Kings and guarding Anthony Davis specifically? We talked about length being an issue for the Kings, Anthony Davis being a very difficult matchup for the Kings. Looks like Sabonis will probably start on Anthony Davis. It's going to take a little bit of a smorgasbord to guard him tonight. As for the Lakers, Cam Reddish, who was questionable, he's been upgraded to probable, looking like he's going to be a go tonight for the Lakers. They're going to probably, I believe they're starting their normal 5 that they've started this season. Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and D'Angelo Russell. So the Lakers, 1-1 on the season. They've had a tough schedule so far. Think about starting off their season. They've had the Nuggets opening night, first game on national TV. Then they have the Phoenix Suns, and now they come to Sacramento for the Kings. So let's start getting some of you in. Dave, yes, sir. Go Kings. Go Kings tonight. How you doing tonight, Justin? Hope you've had a good one so far. We've got Alberto talking about the home opener. Was the home opener a sellout, Ryno? Saw a lot of empty seats. Good question, Alberto. As far as I know, I believe it was a sellout, but then they released some late standing room only tickets. They did the same for tonight's game, so hard to say. We don't have those numbers in front of us. Good evening, Cody. Cody is going right at it. How Davion Mitchell and Kevin Huerter are more involved tonight? How are they going to be more involved? Good question. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what they need to do to be more involved. I mean, Davion, he's bringing it on a nightly basis on the defensive end of the court, but offensively, it has been a struggle, almost as bad as it was last year at times for Davion Mitchell and certainly Kevin Huerter. Mike Brown went to him in the fourth quarter against the Warriors the other night, which was a little bit of a surprise. Wanted to see if he could get some shooting going, get that first unit going. Kevin wasn't able to get anything going. He finished with no points. So, Kevin, Grant and I talked about this on the post-game show. And again, Grant and Jerry Reynolds will be here at halftime. So make sure you come back. And then also give us a thumbs up, give us a like. It really helps the channel. We really appreciate that. And then Grant and I will be wrapping up the night tonight with the post-game show. So it'll be a fun Sunday night. But getting back to your question, Kevin, he's in his head, right? Kevin he's got to see his shot go through. He's got to be able to contribute some way, somehow. And it seems like he's kind of in his own way. So here's the thing that I do want to distinguish before we go any further with the Kevin Huerter conversation. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've received a lot of tweets online about, oh, Kevin Huerter's trash. We need to get rid of Kevin Huerter. Why is Mike Brown starting Kevin Huerter? And here's the distinction I want to make. There is a difference between hurting your team and not helping your team. Kevin Huerter is currently living right in between those two things. So he's not giving Mike Brown the production that you would expect from a two guard, but he's also not he's not hurting the team like a James Harden. He's not doing anything that's bringing them down. He is not the only person that's struggling at defense or struggling on defense at times, not the only person that's missing open shots. So for Kevin, it's about getting that ball through the hoop. It's getting into some type of flow. And, whether that's drawn up by Mike Brown or whether that is just in the flow of the offense, he's got to get something going. So, and maybe it's just as simple as a free throw. If he can get himself to the free throw line, then that could get it started as well. But I think one thing we can all agree on with Kevin is Mike Brown is going to have him on a short leash tonight, as he should. And the same likely goes for Davion Mitchell as well. This is a game where you can be a little bit more free with the backcourt and who you're playing out there because the Lakers want to slow it down. They're a little bit of an older team. So that's an area where the Kings can enforce their will should they choose to in terms of running and pace. But then you also have to worry about the X factor of Anthony Davis because that is the toughest matchup and the toughest guard for the Kings on the court tonight. Dave says more Sasha, less Kevin. Yeah, well, they play two different positions, Dave. So that's the tricky thing there. But I don't disagree with you. Grant and I were talking in the post game about Mike Brown's rotation with Sasha. He's been quick to bring him off the bench, usually the second, third guy off the bench this season. However, when it comes to the second half, even when Sasha's played very well, shooting the ball well, in the first half, his minutes have been inconsistent. And that's a little bit surprising to me because Mike Brown's one of those coaches that can be very consistent with his rotation, specifically times. One thing he's doing different with De'Aaron Fox this year, taking Fox out early in the first quarter. And when I say early, earlier than normal, but then he's bringing him back late in the first quarter. So, he's got to be more consistent with what he does with Sasha, I think. But again, we're only 2 games into the season. The Kings are 500. So we'll give them a little bit of leeway there and see what they do tonight. All right, sports. Let's see. Sports. Where's some of the basketball gear you had in the background last season? I'm trying to class it up a little bit. Okay, it was a little wild last season, so the gear is retired for now, and got some big plans for kind of my setup from where I broadcast from. So you will see some changes throughout the season. But good eye, way to catch that, indeed. Alberto, another comment. Key is to capitalize when LeBron is not on the court. Yes and no. I mean, certainly you want to capitalize when LeBron's not on the court. But I think, again, it comes down to finding a good guard for him. I think you're going to see some Harrison on him. You might see some Keegan Murray. One thing that I've noticed with the Kings this season, teams have tried to exploit them on the pick and roll. They are picking out matchups that they want to get, favorable, preferred matchups. And so the Kings need to be cognizant of that and how they guard those matchups. And they got to be a little more physical. Let's talk about, maybe getting a little bit more pressure. Jerry Reynolds touched on that at halftime during the Kings-Warriors game, saying he wanted to see Mike Brown have the guys get up there, maybe a little full court press here and there. We saw that towards the end of the game against the Warriors because the Kings needed to generate some turnovers. But you got to capitalize when the best players are not on the floor. Let's see. Nice to see you too. What do you think of a successful season looks like for the Kings? I say at least a playoff series win. Yeah, I mean, certainly getting into the playoffs, and I count the playoffs as 1 through 8, not the play-in seeds. So, or 1 through 7, excuse me. So I think, if the way we look at it, if you want to, especially with the team running it back and Monty McNair really sticking with the core of this team, yeah, you would expect them to hopefully get a win in the playoffs. But again, look at last season. They were right there. I mean, you have 1-3 from Harrison Barnes that goes down. You have one injury with De'Aaron Fox that doesn't happen. I mean, everybody wants to talk about that 3 with Harrison Barnes. How about we talk about game 3 of the series against the Lakers? That is the game that lost the series for the Kings. They had every opportunity to put their foot on the Warriors' throats, and they didn't do so. And they got blown out in that game. And that was the game Draymond was out. And then momentum changed and it swung. And we know what ended up happening. Steph Curry, 50. And speaking of Steph, I mean, what do you say about him and his performance on Friday night? That was pretty special. He's doing it at a very, very high level still. Paul, good to see you tonight. Let's see. Hey, Ryan, the only good thing about the Warriors' loss is that it tells the Kings they have to bring it and execute every single night. Yeah, exactly, Paul. And even if it was a Kings win, that comment remains the same. They have to bring it and execute. And, Grant and I, again, talked a little bit about this on the postgame show. That I think part of it, we have to hold Mike Brown accountable to some level, because we look at the Kings' success last season, and certainly we talk about matchups and what other teams are going to do and how they guard the Kings. But a lot of the things that the Kings did last year to have that success, whether it's the dribble handoff or certain sets, we're not seeing as much this year. And certainly teams need to, grow and they need to get better. But you also don't want to go away from something that's not broken. So I want to see more direction on offense. I want to see more intention on offense. I mean, a lot of stuff seems a little bit, late in the shot clock. Now it's time for a pick and roll. So, get everybody going. You got to get Fox going. Foxy didn't have a shot until I believe 6:23 in the first quarter. That's too long for De'Aaron Fox. And in that time, Kevin Huerter had 3 shots, all 3 of which were missed. Now, I'm not knocking Kevin for that, but at the same time, you have to establish your stars, because if you get De'Aaron slash into the hoop, you have Sabonis dominating down low, you have Keegan hitting a 3 or 2, that opens everything else for the other guys on the court. So Athene, let's see, I think that's Athena. Sorry about that. I had to pop up. Oh no, Lolo. Bench Huerter for Duarte if Kevin keeps struggling. Well, that's going to be up to Mike Brown. Again, we go back to Kevin, and, we're 3 games into the season. Grant thought the sample size would be about 5, but if the Kings are winning, that changes the dynamic of that. That changes the number. Duarte has looked good, but Duarte hasn't looked great. He's had his own struggles at times as well. So I think, and then here's the other thing. You start Duarte. You think Kevin's going to be the first shooting guard off the bench? I think we would probably be having a conversation about, those should be Davion's minutes. Those should be Colby Jones's minutes. Those should be Jordan Ford's minutes. And it's kind of a slippery slope. So again, let's see what the Kings do. If they're winning, this could be a non-point. Kevin comes out, has 20 points, shows us some sign of life, right? That could be the start of things to where he just gets to be back on track where he's at. So really appreciate it. Paolo, thanks for checking in. Hey, Ryan, I like your job. Monk will be the answer tonight. Let's go. Monk does get up for these LA games for sure. And he's got some great chemistry with JaVale McGee. Now, the thing about him and JaVale is they're doing, I think the pick and roll is coming too late in the shot clock. The Kings, opening night, 102 shots. Think about that, 102 shots. They want to play at that high pace. And so that's not really happening when you're getting down to, 4, 5, 6 seconds left in the shot clock. But Monk, he's a streaky guy as well. I mean, if we want to talk about the bench and production, the bench really picked up the first unit against Golden State in the first half, but then the bench was MIA in the second half. I mean, nobody was really doing much of anything. I mean, it was a complete polar opposite in terms of the production that Mike Brown got from them in the first 24 minutes. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I think a lot of people are thinking about that. Sasha needs more minutes. If okay, I didn't see the second half of that. If Barnes can't make his free throws, Harrison, I don't have his free throw numbers for the season in front of me, but the Kings shot, I believe, 63% from the free throw line on Friday night. That was a team thing. That was not just a Harrison Barnes thing. Harrison has played excellent this season. Granted, he did go missing a little bit in that second half of the Golden State game, but there was a lot of other people that also went missing. So I don't think free throws would be enough to bench him in favor of Sasha. All right, I am loving all of the comments. Really appreciate it. I'm going to keep getting to as many as I can. Garrison, you want a hip update? All right. Yes, I did actually. Times two. I have 2 brand new hips. So that was my summer in a nutshell. But thank you for asking. Everything is great, and I am feeling awesome. So again, we are going around and around with the Huerter and Davion talk. Huerter and Davion are struggling offensively. Give them a chance, but chances dwindle if you continue losing. It's what I just said. It's what Grant said. He's actually the one that said that at first. I believe it was the first broadcast of the season for the post game show. So yeah, you have to look at the losing, right? It depends how you lose. It depends how many games into the season you are. It depends on what type of losing streak you may be on. But certainly, yeah, if you're losing, you have to make changes. Now, you look at the Kings, I believe they didn't lose any more than 4 in a row last year, and that was at the start of the season. So, and we're not even there yet. The Kings have only lost 1 game. So, we'll see what happens. Mike Brown is going to start Kevin. And in fact, I think it's the right thing to do. I really do, because if you start somebody else, that's only going to take away from Kevin's confidence, which seems to be hurting at this time. Not trying to have a little pun on words there. So, Jay, what's up? Tell Kathy hi, please. Brown definitely needs a short leash with Huerter. Yes, indeed. So, all right, we are getting you all set for the Kings and the Lakers tonight, 6 p.m. tip down at the G1C. Can't wait for that. But if you are not going to the G1C, you know a place you can go watch the game. That's our place, Bennett's West Side Grill, the new location in Rockland. 2 other locations, one off of Howe and Fair Oaks, the other in Roseville. Brian Bennett and his team, big sponsor here on the stream. And my goodness, some of the best food I have had in Sacramento. You can't go wrong there. You want a nice New York steak. You want a filet mignon. You want some prime seafood steak. You got your redfish there. Bennett's is the place to be. Not only do they've got a great dining area, they've got awesome bars, they've got an incredible wine list. And hey, if you've got a group of people looking to have a private party or a gathering, give them a call. They've got some awesome private rooms. I know at the one at Howe and Fair Oaks and the new location in Rockland, but go check it out. Please tell them that Grant sent you there and you heard about Bennett's here on the stream on If You Don't Like That. We're running out of good things to say about Bennett's, and we so appreciate all of the awesome viewers that have gone to Bennett's and said how great it is and chimed in about their time there. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate Bennett's. Hey, by the way, we told you, stay tuned to our social medias. So today I put out a tweet, and all you had to do was like it and retweet it to be entered to win a $25 gift card to Bennett's. And the winner of that gift card is Lath Morse. So congratulations, Lath Morse. We'll be sending you a $25 gift card to Bennett. So go enjoy your time there, and looking forward to hearing about what you think about Bennett. All right, great question here. How do you think the Kings plan to defend Anthony Davis? Would not want to see an Embiid type of nightmare. Yeah, that first game against the Sixers last year, that was brutal. It was like a man playing against boys at a rec league. But yeah, I think the Kings they're going to have to, again, kind of throw some stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And they're also going to have to keep Anthony Davis on his toes, whether that's mixing up who's guarding him or mixing up the way that you're guarding him If he's going to play with his back to the basket, you got to give him some different looks each time, maybe send a double once in a while. But I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Sabonis, obviously. You might even get some Harrison Barnes. I would not be surprised there at times. Keegan Murray. Could Keegan get some time on Anthony? And then certainly Alex Len and JaVale McGee. I say Alex Len before JaVale McGee because Len's had some success coming off the bench, specifically defensively against some bigger guys. He played really well in the playoff series last year. Hasn't gotten any significant minutes yet this season, but it really depends on what the Lakers are doing tonight and what the game looks like. So we'll see. But foul trouble is certainly something the Kings need to be very cognizant of with Anthony Davis. So, Carl, what's up, my man? Do you think Mike Brown needs to make a change to the rotation this early? No, I addressed it a little bit earlier. I don't. Not yet. I think you got to go with Kevin still. I mean, if you had Chris Duarte that came out in the Warriors game and had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, okay, maybe we're talking about something here. If it's me, and I know Davion plays the point, he can play off guard at times in the preseason. We saw Davion, Fox, and Monk on the floor at the same time. Could you see Davion Mitchell possibly starting for the defense with the possibility of him giving you something offensively? Maybe. I mean, but I think still you got to roll with Huerter. You just have him on a quick leash. He couldn't have been on a quicker leash on Friday night. Huerter played, I believe, the first 5-6 minutes of the first quarter, didn't play after that in the first half. He started the second half, and then he got a few minutes in the end of the third, start of the fourth quarter. So that was a pretty quick leash. But again, Mike Brown was looking for the team to get something going. So, again, if you're joining us just right now, Grant and Jerry Reynolds will be here at halftime breaking down the first half of the Kings and the Lakers. Trey Lyles still out for the Kings tonight. And the Lakers, Cam Reddish looks like he's going to give it a go. Jared Vanderbilt will not be playing. So that's where the Kings stand. Nothing new with Lyles. Hopefully he can get back to the court because he does give Mike some flexibility down low and on the perimeter. Let's see, Gabriel. We've got who can play the one guard. Is it just Fox and Monk? Davion. Well, Davion's been playing the one. Predominantly off the bench. But then, see, that's where, and Mike Brown's made a point. He wants all of the guys, unless your name is JaVale McGee and Alex Len, to be able to bring up the basketball. If it's a fast break, if they're on the run, they don't want to stall to find your guard. They want you to go. But at the same time, there's too many times where Davion's on the floor with Monk, and Monk is the guy that's really on the ball. He is initiating the offense when the offense is when they're after their first rotation or two through their offense, I should say, because Davion, he will bring the ball up after a made shot, missed shot, whatever, but usually it's one pass and a cut. So Monk's kind of that playmaker that's playing the one with that second team. But those are your two guys. You've got Colby Jones. That's another name that we've not talked about. He's more of a two guard, can play a little three, but Colby, if you needed him to, could step into that role. I mean, the Kings really have a lot of guards that can pretty much do everything. I think Huerter is not included in that group. He's not really a one. He is a true shooting guard. And then you've got Jordan Ford, who's a two-way with the Stockton Kings. So those are the options right now for Mike Brown. And quite frankly, Grant and I talked about this ad nauseum last season and even this offseason about what are the Kings going to do to bolster that point guard position. Did they need to go out and get a veteran point guard in the offseason or at the trade deadline? They didn't do that. They rolled with what they had, and this is what we're seeing. So again, let's take it easy. It's early in the season, and I do want to make the point again that I made at the top of the show. There is a difference between hurting your team and not helping your team. There's a big difference there for all those saying that Kevin Huerter is hurting this team. I think that's an unfair statement. He's not helping them, but he's not hurting them. All right, let's see. Yeah, I 100% agree with this, Audrey. We need the second half Fox. Yeah, We need second half Fox, not just fourth quarter Fox. It's a great point and a great question. I mean, and I know you didn't phrase it as a question, but if De'Aaron can do it in the fourth, why isn't he doing it in the first? And, it depends on how he's being guarded. It depends on what their game plan is. But, he is he can change pace so quickly. And, his movement's so special that, yeah, he can get by just about anybody he wants at any time. So where is it in the first quarter? It's a good question. Some games we see it, some games we don't. What we can't have is a complete drop off. And credit to Fox, I should say. De'Aaron has had through the first two games points where he's not had a ton of points at halftime. But then, the other night he finishes with 39. That's a ton. So he's done really well this season. But, any good Fox is a great Fox for the Kings. So that's the way that I would put it. You guys are killing it with the comments. I absolutely love it. Paul, let's get to this one. Huerter had some great games early last year. He gets his confidence back to become a great asset. Yeah, that's what he's got to do. He's got to hit some shots. I mean, again, you look at Kevin Huerter. He is really good in the two-man game with Sabonis. He thrives on that dribble handoff. So with the dribble handoff, the Kings aren't doing it that much this year. So when I talk about the Kings being intentional offensively and having a game plan to start and know what they're going to do, and if that's taken away, already knowing what that second option is going to be, it doesn't feel like that's happening to the same degree that it was happening last year. And Kevin started off really hot last year. I mean, it was no surprise that Kevin could shoot the basketball. That's been his MO since he came into the league. But, the way he thrived with Sabonis and the way he was hitting shots and, the different options that either opened him up or that opened him or Sabonis up, that really stuck out at the start of the season. So Kevin's not a guy that's going to be a triple-double guy. You knew that before he played one game in Sacramento. So he's got to do what he does best. And Mike Brown needs to put him in position to be successful. I'm not saying Mike hasn't done that, but Kevin thrives with that dribble handoff. So, one thing actually I should add to this, the cause for concern for me is not seeing Kevin miss shots. It's seeing Kevin miss wide open shots. Kevin has had a lot of shots this season that have been wide open. I mean, I can think of 2 or 3 in my head right now, just from the Warriors game. And, he's not missing badly. I get a miss is a miss. I mean, it's right there. He's either a little bit long or just a tiny bit to the right or left, but he's missing. So he's got to get that going. So we'll see what he does tonight. It's going to be a big point. I'm convinced as many people in Sacramento are going to have their eyes on Kevin Huerter and Mike Brown as they are LeBron James tonight. And I think the majority of the fan base wants to see Kevin do well, right? Like, we're not like run this guy out of town. We're not like throw him on the bench and let him rot. We know he makes this team better. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist or, a very special basketball mind to realize that, whatever is going on, it has something to do with what's upstairs with Kevin. So, all right, we are getting you closer and closer to tip off. As we do, why don't we get you some scores from around the league? Football is not the only thing that's been going on today. So let's break it down. The Clippers, they are currently down 10 to the Utah Jazz. That one is in the third quarter, 9:16 left. You've got the Trailblazers up 50-47 on the Orlando Magic. Oh, excuse me. My timeline just updated. Please excuse me. That was incorrect. Okay, let's start that over. All right, so we've got the Warriors right now tied at 83 with the Houston Rockets. That one is 9:07 left in the fourth quarter. You got the Hawks and the Bucks, 11:14 left in the fourth. The Hawks up 101-83. That's a little bit of a surprise there. You got the Trailblazers. They are currently down 6 to the 76ers. That one is at halftime in Philadelphia. Surprise of the day so far in the NBA. The Nuggets blowing out the really, really fun to watch Oklahoma City Thunder 128-95. Spurs and Clippers getting ready to tip off here at 6 o'clock from LA. And then our game, Lakers and Kings, wraps up the night. So again, we will have full coverage for you tonight. Grant and Jerry will be here at halftime, and then Grant and I will have the post-game show on. If you don't like that, please, 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 if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, leave us a comment. We really appreciate it. If you happen to be watching us on Twitter, we appreciate you watching on Twitter as well. If you want to be a part of the show, go on to YouTube, Grant's channel, if you don't like that, and join the show there. That way you can leave a comment and we can correspond back and forth. Unfortunately, if you're watching on Twitter, we don't see the comments. So hop over to YouTube and we'll get those all answered for you. But we really appreciate everybody tuning in. We've had a great response so far this season, and hopefully later tonight we are all talking about a Kings W. Ron, let's get to your comment. Loves Duarte's defensive intensity and just had a bad shooting night, but I think we need what he brings more than Huerter. Yeah. Well, it's easy, right? And here's the thing you got to keep in mind, and certainly the Kings, and sorry if you see me adjusting, it's the hip thing, as Garrison pointed out. Here's the thing. It's early in the season, all right? And he's played decent. He's done what he needs to do. And, Jerry Reynolds pointed this out in our preseason show where we were breaking down the season and projecting things. And, he pointed out that Chris Duarte played really, really well with Domantas Sabonis his rookie year in Indiana. And then after that, he struggled. But you know why he struggled? He couldn't stay on the court. That is what ultimately led to him coming to Sacramento. So with Chris Duarte, his performance is big, but also staying healthy is big. And we're talking about that with a team that has been the healthiest in the NBA since the start of last season. So if Chris can continue to stay healthy and continue to bring he brings a little bit of a different vibe, right, than the Kings had last year. He's got a little bit of that dog in him, kind of like that middle area of the Venn diagram where you'd have Trey Lyles and Davion Mitchell. He's right in the middle between those two. But also, he's got a little bit more length. I mean, his body style reminds me of like a Gravis Vasquez, George Hillish kind of type. So that's a little bit different than what the Kings had to work with last year. But hopefully that continues to go well for Chris and the Kings. He plays well. It only helps the team, certainly. So, all right, we're getting closer and closer to tip-off. In fact, I think they're getting ready to start the game here in a couple minutes to the Open. So I appreciate so much all of your comments. And again, Grant and Jerry, they will be back at halftime. Or I should say they'll be back. They will be here at halftime. The Kings and the Lakers getting ready to tip off here in Sacramento. Game 3 of 82. Again, starting lineups, Anthony Davis, Taurean Prince. Watch out for Taurean Prince. He has been playing good basketball at that power forward position thus far for the Lakers. LeBron James, can you guys believe it's been 30 years to the day that he debuted in Sacramento? We're going to have to talk to Grant about that later tonight. 30 years. Absolutely amazing. We've got D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. Was it 30 years? Maybe it wasn't 30 years. I have to look at the number. I'll have that right number. I'm sorry about that. And then also we've got the Kings starting lineup. As we know, Kevin Huerter is in the starting lineup for Mike Brown. Trey Lyles, unavailable for the Kings. Cam Reddish for the Lakers is going to be available for them. So, quick final thoughts on the Lakers. That second unit for the Lakers, you got to really watch them like getting going. And when I say getting going, it's your Cam Reddishes, it's your Christian Woods, it's your Ruri Hachimuras. I mean, he played great for the Lakers in the playoffs. So they've got a lot of length, and Mike Brown's going to have to find a way to combat that tonight with the Kings. And I think what that comes down to is physicality. When I look at this Lakers team, they're not physical. And in fact, they're more on the old side. So run, be physical with them. And I know, sometimes it's kind of that Sabonis formula down low, the pump fakes, and really just getting in there and grinding it out. That needs to rub off on some of the guys tonight, because if they can do that with the Lakers, I think that the Kings could be very successful tonight. So, all right, we are going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me here on the pregame show. Getting ready to tip off right now at Golden One Center. Grant and Jerry at halftime. We will see you then. All right, go Kings, light the beam. See you at halftime.